Welcome to another edition of INN CEO Talks. Joining me today is Ian Harris, the Chief Executive Officer and President of Libero Copper Gold, which trades on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol LBC and on the OTCQB under the symbol LBCMF and on the DE under the symbol 29H. Libero Copper Gold is a mineral exploration company that has a collection of copper deposits throughout the Americas in prolific and stable jurisdictions. Their portfolio includes Big Bulk, Big Red, Esperanza, and Mocoa. Now, Big Bulk is a copper gold target just about 50K southeast of Stewart, BC, and it is fully permitted and ready to drill. We'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Big Red is a new copper gold discovery in the Golden Triangle of BC, which is a geologically famous province known for its prodigious gold and copper mineralization. The initial drill program was completed during the 2020 field season, resulting in the Terry discovery. Esperanza is a copper gold and epithermal gold project located in the precious and base metal endowed Hachi mining district in Argentina. And in 2018, the drill program there intercepted 387 meters of 0.78% copper equivalent from surface through to the end of the hole, but it was never followed up due to market conditions. And Mocoa is a copper moly deposit located in Putumayo, Colombia in the Jurassic Belt, which extends through Ecuador and Colombia. Mocoa is a pit-constrained resource containing 636 million tons of 0.45% copper equivalent at 0.25% cutoff, containing 4.6 billion pounds of copper and 511 million pounds of moly. Ian, you've got a lot going on, but can we start at Big Red and your exploration program that you've got going on there?
Yeah, we really do have an incredible set of projects right now, and things are very exciting because we're now mobilizing to Big Red to follow up on the Terry discovery from the end of last year. The company's gone through a dramatic transition since that discovery with the addition of new management, new directors focused on developing large-scale porphyry copper deposits. So mobilizing to site and starting our drill program at Big Red is a moment we've been waiting for, to get on that path of value creation for our shareholders and watch this company grow. The Terry discovery was on the edge of a very large anomaly, mineralization right from surface, very similar grades to GT Gold that just sold for $450 million Canadian. So we see a path of value creation right on the edge. We look forward to creating the drilling vectors through both geophysical and geochemistry work while we're drilling in parallel. We got 5,000 meters planned and very excited to get this drill program up and started.
So is this a property that you're looking to build out, or are you considering vending it in with a major?
Right now, our philosophy is to keep our eyes. I'm a mining engineer. I've worked 25 years in the industry and 15 years in South America that will probably come up again based on some of the other projects that we have. But our focus is on taking projects and as quickly as possible getting them towards the development path, whether that's drilling to drill out for resources or getting them into the engineering stages. We understand that there's a big supply gap coming up in copper, and timing is everything in the junior mining space. We feel like we're ahead of the pack with the projects that we have. So right now we're just focused on developing these projects as quickly as possible. And if somebody is more interested in us and willing to take those off our hands, we are ready for that. But right now we're walking and talking like we can see the potential of these projects becoming future mines.
Well, and if we take a look at the copper market right now over the last year, the price has gone up and up and up, and it looks like it's going to continue to do so. Is that what you're seeing?
We're seeing some really interesting dynamics. Not only is there this explosion in demand, you've seen some big things that have happened in big oil recently saying that you've got to convert and reduce your carbon footprint. A lot of a lot of different countries using the switch to sustainable energy also as an impulse to their economies, and the reaction in copper. I don't think a lot of people know the story is that during the same period of time, there hasn't been a lot of investment put into exploring for copper. And even the majors, not a single greenfields project has been green-lighted this year. That means sometime there's going to be a serious lack of copper, and we're trying to make sure that we're helping fill that space. So yeah, we figure if the investment hasn't started now, then copper will continue to rise to eventually to stimulate more investment and get more supply into the pipeline.
Well, there's a couple of factors at work there, aren't there? There's this whole movement towards the electrification of automobiles and transportation, but then there's also the expanding grid for electrification of everything else, and not just in North America or Europe, but globally as markets continue to expand, and nothing better to transmit electricity than copper.
Yeah, we're really coming into the age of electricity, right? And age of oil, it might be a dying beast. And even with just that electrification programs, there was concerns over the supply of copper. Added on top of that, an increase of probably 25-30% extra demand in copper due to the conversion to green energy, electrical vehicles by 2030, 2035. And we're seeing the whole system being stressed. And countries talking now that copper is a strategic metal that needs to have supply secured.
Right. So let's also talk about a couple of your other properties. Big Bulk, what's happening there right now?
Big Bulk is our earliest stage project in combination with our drill program in Big Red. We're going to do 2,000 meters. It's a very binary test. We have a new interpretation on some old drilling that was very vertical, that had some interesting intercepts, but we believe that they were skipping through a mineralization phase. And new mapping shows that it could be slightly tilted, so we're going to put some holes directly into that new interpretation and test our geological theory and hope that Big Bulk can enter into our pipeline of serious projects.
And that's, in the pipeline coming down. Esperanza sounds very, very interesting based on, previous results. So where do you go from here, and how's that looking at the moment?
Yeah. Esperanza is a very sad, happy story. Happy for us, very sad, depressing when you think that somebody could put out a hole over 380 meters, of which 220 meters contained over 1% equivalent copper, and not be able to continue to finance the project. Obviously, we are very happy to be able to acquire. We acquired it in January. We're working through the permitting processes. We have the management on staff that currently previously worked for companies such as Lumina and NGX, great porphyry experts. The more that we look at it, the more we get excited about this project because it's having all the signals that it's a monster, it's a beast. We are seeing lots of parallels with companies such as Filo de Sol, which just put out over an 880 meter hole, I think at 1.6 equivalent copper. Its valuation is now $1 billion. So once again, just like Big Red, where we see a clear path of creating value for our shareholders, here's another one, Esperanza, which is the same scale, similar grades, similar alterations. It's all the smoke that looks, it's very similar to the projects that are nearby on a pipeline that could create a valuation for a company that today our company is valued about $25 million. To think that we could one day become, in one project alone, have a value of $1 billion obviously creates a lot of excitement for our shareholders and internally.
Well, I think it's also important to point out, and you alluded to it earlier, your experience having worked in multiple jurisdictions. You know the area, don't you?
Yeah, I've worked 15 years in South America, of which 12 of those years were actually living and working in mining projects. And for that reason, Macoa, which we'll probably talk about next, is a project that's very near and dear to my heart because in a previous life, I was Senior Vice President and Country Manager of Corriente Resources, and as a mining engineer was responsible for taking that project post-discovery through feasibility and then eventual sale to two Chinese SOEs, and as a part of that sales agreement was on board with them a year afterwards, taking that project to the start of construction. That project went on to become the first large-scale mining operation in Ecuador in the same Jurassic belt as Mocoa. So very comfortable working and advancing large-scale projects in the region.
You know, a lot of people don't know much about sort of the mining jurisdiction in Ecuador and Colombia. You know, what's it like there as far as, you know, being a mining-friendly environment?
Yeah, we talk a lot about mining-friendly environment. We are lucky that there's a report called the Fraser Report that comes out annually that helps us identify what are the most mining-friendly jurisdictions based on the potential. And also their policy. Colombia, for the first time ever, came out ranked to #1 in South America, beating out countries like Chile and Peru, which is quite surprising. But we understand, working on the ground, the focus on driving investment into the country. And then similar in Argentina, we're working in San Juan, a province. There's a lot of autonomy in provinces, and it's been the classic mining jurisdiction in Argentina. Over 44% of all exploration investment in Argentina is in San Juan. So these things are very important to us because these projects take a very long time to properly explore and develop. 10 years can take from discovery through a mine actually being constructed. So being in safe and stable jurisdictions is very important, and seeing the importance of copper in terms of world economies, being in those type of areas is very important to us. So working, whether it's Colombia, Ecuador, anyway, where we have another director on the board, Ernie Mast, who was CEO of Inmet's Cobre Panama, which also oversaw a $6 billion construction of Cobre Panama, which was the first large-scale mining operation in Panama. So our shared knowledge is the focus. I mean, very similar to Canada. Focus on your local communities, create strong alliances, understand your messaging. A creation of political will is very important to create stability for projects of this size. So that's the formula we're going to be using in Argentina. That's the formula we're going to be using in Colombia, although I'd like to argue that both Ecuador and Panama were much more difficult jurisdictions with not familiar with the mining industry.
Huh. So one of the reasons we didn't even really get into gold and moly here. We don't have enough time for all of that. Needless to say, you've got an awful lot on the go. But one of the questions that virtually everybody who tunes into these discussions wants to hear from you is, you know, when they want to ask you, okay, Ian, why now? Why do I invest in your company, Libero, at this point?
It's a great question because we have seen a lot of excitement around the company with 3 separate projects that either one is a company building project with pipelines to 450 million or $1 billion with similar comparables. But there's a lot of people waiting to see what happens and is it the right time? We've seen a large improvement in our share price over the last 2 weeks, and that's because we're finally moving forward and boots are hitting the ground and drills are going to be turning at Big Red. So a lot of talk, and now we're getting into action, and I think that's creating a lot of the excitement, and that's why the time is now, because we're moving to ground. Drills will be turning, and drills will turn the strategy into real value for our shareholders.
Well, and then, of course, we're going to want to hear what those drill results are. I'm hoping that you'll come back and join us in, a couple of months and bring us up to speed on, how things are progressing across all 4 of your projects.
We look forward to it. We're very excited. A lot of times I feel we did a financing for $7 million in February, and I feel like I'm in a drag car sitting at the light with $7 million of fuel, some great projects, and just getting prepared for a serious ride. We're very excited. It seems like a lot of things are going well for the project in terms of quality management, quality projects, and obviously what is happening in the copper space too is very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting time for you. Thank you very much for taking the time, and look forward to seeing you again in the near future.
Thank you very much for the time, and it's been a pleasure.